Well, good morning and a very warm welcome to the final day of racing here at the International Canoe Federation World Cup 1. We're in Ivrea in northern Italy, about an hour's drive north of Turin. And the stage is set as we get ready for the women's kayak and the C2 men's semi-finals. So all that to come, and then later on today, live on the Planet Canoe channel, then we'll also have the women's kayak and the C2 men's finals. So stay with us throughout the World Cup series in 2016. But if you didn't follow us yesterday, then we're in this beautiful city of Ivrea, just in the foothills of the Alps. Great view into the mountains, and here the river Dora Boltea that flows through the centre of the town, and great atmosphere here. Great crowd yesterday, and we saw an Italian 1-2 in the men's kayak event. That was very popular. The noisy local crowd really receiving that well. So same course as we had for the C1 men, the C1 women, and the K1 men. This semi-finals course, 24 gates, 6 upstream gates, 18 downstream gates. And our course designers, Roberto D'Angelo of Italy, Natalie Siegrist of Switzerland, have set us a very interesting challenge on what is a very popular course. So myself, Andy Maddock, will keep you up to date with all the action. And joining me in the commentary box this morning for the semi-finals, it is Bradley Forbes-Cryans of Great Britain. Now, Bradley, you made your first final yesterday in the men's kayak event. How was that for you?
Yeah, yesterday I had a really great day out on the river. Really enjoyed myself. You know, I set a good plan. I didn't take the tricky 19 move on forwards. I decided to set and really try and attack the spin there, and it came off well for me in the semi-final. And then yeah, I set almost the same plan for the final, attacked it well again, and then yeah, just had a really good result.
Well, 6th place for Bradley, so yeah, well done, personal best there. And here we see the start list of the semi-final. 30 boats qualified through into the semi-finals from the heats on Friday, and the athletes will race in reverse order of that result. And of course, only 10 places in the final. That final starts at 1 o'clock Central European time, and will of course be here live on Planet Canoe. You can follow all the action on the canoeicf.com website. You can interact with us, hashtag ICF Slalom. So, women's kayak semi-final, and we've got some big names here. 6 world champions are through into the semi-finals, including 2 Olympic champions. And we're underway with racing. The first of our 30 competitors on course from Australia. It's Naomi Fox, and an opportunity to set the pace. Bradley, who are the names to watch in this semi-final? Who do you think is going to be really featuring and setting the pace in today's racing?
Yeah, I think the ones to watch will definitely be the German girls. You know, they've been really dominant the last couple of years now, and yeah, I think especially Ricarda Funk, I'll be looking to keep a close eye on her. And also the Spanish girls,
Marta Martinez.
Yes, Marta Martinez. I think she's been looking really good on the water here. You know, the water flows really well, so I think it could really suit her today.
Well, Naomi Fox, first paddler down in this women's kayak semi-final. Penalty picked up on gate 12. Now, this was the section that caused a lot of problems in yesterday's. Pretty open at the top section, would you say, Bradley, and then tightens up as you get through?
Yeah, definitely tightens up a lot as you get through down the course, especially after gate 16. You've got a really tight exit out onto 17, and then again you're trying to push across the river into 18 to try and stay high. I think Noemi's just lost a little bit of time there and picked up a few penalties on the way down.
Yeah, unfortunately, 50-second penalty, although actually that's just come off the screen, so it may be okay. She lives to breathe again. Yesterday we saw the fastest time in the men's kayak event, I think 87.58. In fact, that was in the semi-finals. What sort of time would we expect to win this semi-final from a women's kayak perspective?
I think just over 100 seconds. I don't want to give an exact time, but I think just over 100 seconds will be a good time for the women today.
Okay, so you heard it here. Bradley says just over 100 seconds. I'm going to say it's going to be sub 100 seconds. But, well, we'll have to wait and see. The athletes going at 2-minute intervals in reverse order of their heats performance. And next up from the Czech Republic, it is Amelie Hilgertova. And coming up to this top section, really, this is the opportunity on the top section to find your rhythm, get the feel and the flow as you sort of come into the narrowing section in gate 8, 9 and 10. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
So 0.81 adrift on the top part of the course compared to our first competitor, Naomi Fox of Australia, sister of Jessica Fox, and probably feeling the pressure first year on the senior team, and perhaps a bit of expectation to emulate some of the impact that her sisters had. Well, this is a nice steady run coming together from Amelie Hilgertova of the Czech Republic. Made light work of that middle section, 12, 13, 14. Still trailing on the split time, but we saw a lot of time trading hands yesterday on the bottom section. Whether that was due to fatigue or whether that was just due to line errors. Certainly the gate 19, 20, it's very easy to get offline. You raced this course, Bradley. Just give us a bit of insight into this bottom section.
Yeah, she's just clipped that inside pull on gate 20 there with the nose of her boat. You know, it's actually quite tricky to feed your nose through there, and I was speaking to Amy this morning while she was doing her pre-warm-up, and she raced the boat across yesterday, and she said she just felt really, really weird in her boat, and she didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, so she was just looking to see how it went today. But it looks like she's not done too badly there.
Well, still, it is Naomi Fox of Australia leading the way in the early stages. Remember, 30 boats racing in this ICF World Cup semi-final, but only 10 spots up for grabs in the final. So we would expect the pace still to come, still to hot up, because we have our fastest boats. And Ana Statila of Brazil was the fastest in the heats. She goes off last in this morning's semi-finals, and certainly a lot of expectation on her, given that she a little bit of the sort of the face of canoe slalom in Brazil. So on course now, Soline Gray of France, and some of the big names from the French team not racing here in Ivrea. I expect them to be in action next weekend in La Seo d'Urgell for the ICF World Cup 2, and certainly a full French team for the third World Cup just over the Pyrenees in Pau, and of course the venue for the 2017 ICF Canoe Slalom World Championships. So a touch showing at the moment on now downstream gate 13, and a little bit low into 18.
Yeah, she also got held a little bit sideways in gate 12 a little bit further up the course, so I think she might have lost a little bit too much time to be in contention now.
I'd agree. 3.48 seconds at the last split, and was that another touch on the downstream gate 20? It was indeed. So it looks like Soline Gray of France is not going to challenge our current race leader, Naomi Fox of Australia. So through to the finish line, and surely that is going to be into third place. So Naomi Fox of Australia still our early leader in this, the women's kayak semi-finals. Well, going a little bit out of order and having to do it on second runs in the heats, it is Great Britain's Elizabeth Neve coming through gate 4, a former World Championship medalist. That was in La Seo d'Urgell back in 2009, I think. And certainly I know she'll be looking forward to racing at La Seo. She likes that course. Well, she's part of your team, Bradley, and showing a good pace at the top section.
Yeah, that was pretty. But I'm sure she's got it within her to really pull it. She's done that pretty well there.
Well, she's certainly looking good through 13 and 14. Importantly, no penalties so far on this run, but very tight into 16, sneaks in and out, and 3.16 seconds the advantage at the two-thirds split. So Lizzie Neve certainly giving a good run here for everyone else to chase. We know it's not over till you cross the finish line, so tidy through 19.
It was really, really nice in 18 there, one stroke and pulling out straight away. Now just coming down to 21, jumping into the back of 22.
Well, it's interesting, we saw a lot on the upstream gate 22 yesterday. We saw the C1 men and the K1 men almost going in too tight, and the C1 women often were giving away time, but Lizzie Neve now attacking the finish line. Surely this is going to be the new race lead. 106.81, and she's found a whole stack of time on that bottom section. A clear run. Lizzie knows that she has put in a good performance, but she also knows she's going to have to wait 45 minutes or so before she knows whether she's in that final. So next up, Victoria Us of Ukraine, wearing bib number 32. So the top three: Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain, Naomi Fox of Australia, and Amelie Hilgatova of the Czech Republic. Only 4 boats down so far. This is the 5th boat, Victoria Us of the Ukraine. She's been on the circuit for quite some time. And 3.44 trailing on that top section. Well, you can't win 4-4. That's quite a lot to make up on the tricky technical sections. So we'll get an indication. Well, it's tidy through 13 and 14. 61.4 was the split of our current race leader, and she stabilised that time loss. 3.85 still in the red, but certainly looks like she's found the groove, found a rhythm. Now we saw quite a lot of problems on gate 18. The eddy line there seemed to catch a few people out. If they gave any edge on their boats, then it would snatch them, and a few rolls. And I know Adam Burgess was on a very good run up until 18.
Yeah, he was really unlucky there. You know, he said that if there was a move to be set, then that would be his worst nightmare, pretty much. An offside down on the left into crossbow upright. He just said that's his most hated move. So,
well, Victoria Us has lost time at the bottom section and into 4th place. So the top 3 remains unchanged. And oh, it looks like at the top, Jessica Grunveld of Canada having to go back for gate 1. So not a good start to her semi-final run, and a 2-second penalty. What'll be interesting to see here will be whether she can put that mistake behind her, refocus, and try and do some damage limitation as she comes down this course. So coming through gate 6, be interesting to quantify how much time she has lost. Well, it's over 10 seconds already. She comes into the upstream gate 9. 10.96 seconds down. Surely there's no way back. We've got a quality field here. As I said, 6 world champions. We've got Karina Kunler. She has 2 world titles. Yana Dukatova, she has a world title. And Stepanka Hilgatova, I can't remember how many titles. It's at least 3 titles that Stepanka Hilgatova has. Jasmine Schornberg, 1 title. Jessica Fox won the title in 2014. And Elena Kalishka, of course, double Olympic champion and also world champion. They're all racing in this ICF Canoe Slalom semi-final. So really, it's important early on to get the good runs in, because we have a quality field. So Jessica Grenville of Canada, well, still only that one penalty on the first gate, but as I say, that just another penalty coming on +4, and already she's outside of the time of our current race leader, and more problems on gate 22. How hard is it? The upstream gate 22, Bradley, people who go in very tight looked to be just struggling a little bit to get the line on the exit, and particularly to set up through that quite tricky 23-24 sequence and find the sweet line.
Yeah, the eddy there is really, really strong, so I set the plan where I just aimed to go in low and then take it back on the exit, because you can turn around the pole from the lower part of the eddy, and then you're exiting really, really tight, so you can get over and you don't have to worry about the stopper there, which will be causing a lot of people trouble today.
Well, on course, that double Olympic champion, Elena Kaliska. She's won every title that is to win in the sport of canoe slalom. Probably fair to say she's not at her vintage best, but she's still a contender to be reckoned with. She's up on the split time, 1.15 up on the current race leader, Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain. And looks tidy through 12, 13, 14 and 15. Very tight into 16, and not able to pull it round. So a bit of a mistake there, and maybe that's where the advantage has gone. 1.73, so he had extended the advantage, but I think that's all gone away. So it'll all be about what she can do on this bottom section. So dominated the sport, won the Olympic title in 2004 in Athens, 2008 in Beijing. And looks like she's really working hard on this bottom section, but seems to have lost the flow of the water and now low into 22.
Yeah, you just saw that in the upstream 16 there. Is it 16? I think it is 16. Just put on a little bit too much edge and a little bit too high, and the eddy is just so strong. It's just going to catch that edge and just push you all the way to the top of the eddy, and it's just a hard place to come back from.
Well, Elena Kaliska of Slovakia into second place, and the time slipped away at the bottom, and that was more than just that mistake on the upstream gate 16. We saw that yesterday in the C1 women's final. Then Jessica Fox was outstanding on the bottom section. She found time that no one else found, and all three podium athletes were within the same second, but it was there that Jessica Fox made the difference and took the gold. Took the first 60 pointers from the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup 5-race series, and Jessica Fox in the C1 women took the honours. In the C1 men, it was Mikhail Jane of the Czech Republic, and in the K1 men, it was the local favourite Giovanni De Gennaro for Italy. So now on course, it is Kristina Nevarinova of Slovakia. So following Elena Kaliska, very tight out of 12 and too tight there. So that is going to require a paddle back, and surely the time loss will be too much to make it through into the final. Well, she's managed to limit the damage there. She did get back into the eddy and repeat that, but you can see already over 10 seconds, well, over 15 seconds down on the current race leader split. So coming into the upstream 18, we expect a spin on 19. Do you expect anyone to take this move on forwards in the women's kayaks?
I would think not. You know, for the men who did it to the upstream, because you had a nicer run round the next few gates. So I would think if the women have, well, since they've been watching the race yesterday, they'll have the information to know that the spin has been faster.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting insight there. So It looks like Kristina Nevarilova of Slovakia only good enough for 7th place. The top 3 remains unchanged. Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain leading the way early on, ahead of Elena Kalishka of Slovakia and Naomi Fox of Australia in 3rd. But on course now, the next of our paddlers, Barbara Valikova of the Czech Republic, and she's up against our current race leader on the top section. So it's all about what she can deliver as we get into the technical aspect of this course. The upstream gate 12, we saw a lot of penalties there yesterday on the bow of the boat. Precision really important. But speaking of precision, that looks a good run through that middle section, and she's still up on the split time.
That was a really nice line into 16 there, and she's come around the side of the stopper there, just getting just a little bit too close into 17. She's causing herself a few issues now, just getting a little bit too tight to the gates. But she's done the spin pretty well there. She just needs to get over here through 20.
Well, Lizzie Neve, the current race leader from Great Britain, was very tidy on the bottom section. It'll be interesting to see whether that advantage at gate 16 for Valikova is able to be maintained. Well, we know she's already got an additional penalty, and she's going to be outside of that time. So Neve of Great Britain, the Czech Republic, goes into 2nd place, 109.94 total. Well, another athlete sort of out of order really, again had to go in the 2nd runs of the heats, didn't get through on the 1st run. Jessica Fox of Australia, the world champion from 2014, wearing bib number 1, and already a penalty on the upstream gate 3. She'll be able to absorb that, I would have thought, but it certainly piles on the pressure. We've got a strong field here. Only 10 spots in the final.
She's just taking another touch on gate 5 there as well, so she will have to put on the afterburners for this bottom section now. But I think if anyone can do it, she can. She's still got enough left in the tank. I've seen her sprinting on the flat, and she looks really, really fast.
Well, she won the race yesterday in the C1 women's event. It was very close, and it was the bottom section that she found the time. It'll be interesting to see whether that learning can carry over into the women's kayak event. Well, great move through 13, 14, 15. She made that look like a straight line.
Yeah, she's absorbed quite a lot of those penalties already, to be honest. 1.3 down with 4 seconds worth of penalties.
Well, this is where it's going to matter here on this bottom section. Can she find the lines she found yesterday? Because if she does, then she could well take that challenge to our race leader. But is that another penalty on the downstream gate 19? Yes, confirmed. And Jessica Fox really up against it now.
That was really nice around the last upstream there. She just needs to get away tight on the back of the stopper and then get that right to left movement back through 23, down through 24, and now it's just sprinting to the finish, just giving it all she's got.
Well, it's a great run from Jessica Fox of Australia. 107.47. That includes 6 seconds in penalties. And she knows it. She knows she's delivered a good run, but will those 6 seconds of penalties prove costly when it comes to whether she'll be in the final? Well, next up, Kimberly Woods of Great Britain. Kimberly took a bronze medal yesterday in the C1 women's event here at the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup, and she led the semi-final with an outstanding run, but ultimately it was all down to penalties that determined the order for the top 3. But the top 3 yesterday in the C1 women's final were outstanding, and I think 12 seconds clear of 4th place. So Kimberly Woods in touch, but a second down on our current race leader, Elizabeth Neve.
She's just taken a touch and lost a bit of time there in gate 10. But I think the British athletes are in a really good place coming to this course. I think it's big volume, lots of drops and stoppers. So I think training on the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre at the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre every day, I think it actually has put us in a good place for coming here.
And the water's quite cold. It's alpine water, fresh snow melt. And the weather conditions haven't been great this week. How has that affected the athletes' preparation?
The course has changed daily. with the water levels, but you know, it's the on the start drop, but apart from that, the rest of the course is the same.
Well, Kimberly Woods showing touches on 10 and 13 and gets in a right pickle here on the run into gate 22. She almost went too tight onto the rocks, had to back off, and it's all going wrong for Kimberly Woods. She's unlikely to make it through into the final. And so she won't be able to challenge for the podium spot. She was a World Championship finalist in this class at the World Championships last year and crosses the finish line in 9th place. So disappointment for Kimberly Woods of Great Britain, but still the top 3 at this stage is Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain ahead of Jessica Fox of Australia and Barbara Valikova of the Czech Republic. But on course now, another British, another penalty showing on the upstream gate 3. Well, that caused some problems, and it's quite a risky gate. You can take a safe option, but you can also be quite risky. But how much time is there to be had by taking that risky option?
I think if you can just do a nice upstream and keep it flowing around the pole, just holding the inside pole, then there's not too much time to be had. Obviously, if you're really looking to push it, like the girls who will get into the final, maybe they will take on that riskier option of trying to sweep around the inside pole and really just get away as fast as they can.
Well, Mallory Franklin taking advantage. She was on the podium yesterday, silver medal in the C1 women's event, but now showing 4 seconds in penalties and taking the opportunity. In fact, she's 4th boat in the women's kayak category for Great Britain, but Fiona Penny has been out in the Rio training slots and will not be racing this weekend. She is racing next weekend in La Seo d'Urgell, and Mallory Franklin still keeping it flowing nicely as she approaches the finish line. And a pretty good time coming together for Mallory, but those 4 seconds in penalties proving costly. So it is a good time, 109.23 total, and that includes 4 seconds in penalties. Not many clean runs so far, with 12 boats down in this 30-boat semi-final, and of course only 10 spots in this afternoon's final. So on course now, it is Estelle Monga of France wearing bib number 20. The French women's kayaks generally very strong indeed, but not really fielding their top boats here at the first World Cup of the season. And very much in touch as she goes through the split on gate 8, but it looks like a little bit low into the upstream gate 9.
Yeah, just as she tried to come around the stopper there, her nose got flicked downstream and she had to paddle around the bottom of the eddy there, losing maybe a second or two. But it's easily she'll be able to make it up on the bottom part of the course here, just by making sure she nails down the lines.
Yeah, well, she wasn't the tidiest through 12, 13 and 14, but she is still in touch with our current race leader. But I suspect, having seen Jessica Fox and Mallory Franklin down, then I think the sort of times around the early 100s or even sub 100 is what's going to win this semi-final. That's what you suggested, Bradley. So I think if she wants a place in the final, then she's really got to make sure she's inside the current race leader's time.
I think looking at the bottom part of her run, she's still in touch. I think if she can keep it clean around these last few gates, I think she will be looking at the final this afternoon.
Right, she's certainly still got the rhythm. That's so important down the bottom section. That's a great line through the final 2 gates. And how much time has she made up? Well, 108.80 is her time, into 3rd place for Estelle Monga of France. But it is still Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain leading ahead of Australia's Jessica Fox. But we are still in the early stages, getting towards the halfway point in this semi-final as we look at our next starter, Martina Wegman of the Netherlands. She was in action last night in the slalom cross event. From memory, she came 5th. She didn't make it through into the main final, but she did win the small final. So very tied into the upstream gate 9, in touch with the split of our current race leader. And the Dutch don't have a great record in canoe slalom, but there's a few athletes who stand out, and most of them don't actually end up training too much in Holland. Very flat, not a lot of white water. They tend to, in order to be successful, tend to gravitate towards Germany and sort of benefiting from the system in Germany. So a 2-second penalty on the downstream gate 13. That won't help her challenge to make it through into a first World Cup European Championships in Liptovsky Mikuláš in Slovakia a month or so ago. Just a little bit held through gate 20 and 21, but the important thing is no additional penalties clocking up here. But 2 seconds pretty much was the deficit as she went through gate 16. She's going to be outside our race leader time. Has she managed to stabilise that deficit? Well, a little bit more time lost. Into 5th place for Martina Wegman of the Netherlands. Still, Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain leading, ahead of Jessica Fox of Australia and Estelle Monga of France, as we get towards the halfway point in this, the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup Race 1, and it's the women's kayak semi-finals. We're here in Ivrea in northern Italy. The weather pretty much the best it's been all week, and the mountains have finally revealed themselves from the cloud. Still not exactly warm, but certainly perfect conditions for racing. No wind, and the athletes not affected by the weather at all. Well, it's nip and tuck, neck and neck, just 1/100th of a second separating our current paddler on course from Austria, Lisa Leitner.
Just taking a touch on gate 10 there.
From our race leader, so that's putting her on the back foot. So the time's still 1:06.81. Well, we think that it's going to go lower than that. And there are still some big names to come in this women's kayak semi-final. Lisa looking strong there, though. She's absorbed a bit of that penalty. 1.36 now, trailing. So if she can really find the feel on this bottom section, she could still be our new race leader.
Yeah, she's charging hard. She had a really nice up there around 16, and then nice sweep again on 18. Done the spin really well as well. So hopefully she can just charge on down to the bottom. It'll be good to see her in the final this afternoon.
Well, she's there was a penalty showing on gate 17. That's come off. That's good news for her. And of course, we've got a big showdown today within the Austrian team. Not with Lisa Leitner, but we've got Olympic selection for the Austrian women's team. Will be a straight race between Karina Kundler and between Vio Oblinger-Peters. So we'll bring you the information that you need on that, but that should be very exciting. Lisa Leitner into 5th place for Austria, 109.41. There's a big grouping of athletes on around about 108 through to 110, but it is still the top 3 remaining unchanged. We're now into the top half of the semi-final, so we're over halfway through. Veronika Vojtova, the Czech women's kayak team, very strong indeed. Katarina Kudyova, the world champion, not here. She's been in Rio training, ready for the Olympic Games in August. But another athlete who's picked up an early penalty on the course. So no margin for those penalties, but a great line into gate 12. Certainly very direct through 13, and looks like she's really found the line, but as I speak, it looks like she just picked up another penalty on gate 15. So her time itself is right, pretty much the same as our current race leader, but 4 seconds in penalties showing, and certainly sneaking her way around gate 18, but it would appear that not her whole head going through that gate line. So if that stands, then Veronika Vojtova of the Czech Republic will not progress into this afternoon's ICF World Cup final. Here, the first of 5 races in the 2016 season.
Just totally losing the run of her boat to the finish there as well. It's just not a nice place to be in that left eddy. That final gate is just it's a terribly placed, to be honest.
Well, it's certainly been interesting though, because if you don't get the line, then yes, the line launches you to the finish. So the top 3 remain unchanged, and next up from Slovenia, Eva Tersel, wearing bib number 9 on course. Well, she has kept it clean and smooth on the top section as she comes into this course. This course narrows out as we get here towards gate 9, and the gradient starts to steepen up. 10 cubic meters of water per second, that's 10 tons of water top to bottom. Right, so pretty powerful water, and I think that's what makes it so popular amongst the athletes.
Yeah, definitely. But you see Eva here, she's on a great run, like flowing her boat really nicely. I think she'll definitely be up on the split here.
There we go, so we have an advantage, a virtual race leader, 0.77 up, and Eva Tersel making it look really easy here. She's just putting that boat and timing the strokes perfectly as she comes out of 18. But a 2-second penalty now showing has that cut that advantage that she had at gate 16, and another penalty. So suddenly, from being in control, then she is really chasing it on the bottom section. Eva Tersel, 7th overall in last year's World Cup Series, and 3 top 5 results, so very consistent last year, into 5th place, and that is going to be borderline as to whether it will be enough to go through into this afternoon's final. So the top 3 still unchanged. Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain leading ahead of Jessica Fox of Australia. Estelle Monga of France in 3rd with 14 boats still to go, and the first of those, the next boat, is Lu Li of the People's Republic of China. And People's Republic of China, which races they do in preparation for the major championships, and I was noticing really they haven't had a great record in terms of qualifying boats for the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. So a bit of a surprise there, because they were really emerging as a nation, but have not had a great qualification process into that. So at the moment it is Lu Li on course, keeping it clean, keeping it smooth, and still in touch with our current race leader as she comes into the upstream gate 16. Well, she's more than in touch, she is ahead of the game. 0.45 the advantage, and still very important to keep it smooth and paddle the lines on this bottom section. How physical is this course, Bradley? How important is that on the bottom section?
I think, Andy, it really depends on how physical you want to make it. If you can flow with the water, then it's really not that physically challenging on the arms at all. But if you want to fight it and you want to make a meal of it, then it'll eat you up.
Well, she did come out quite high out of the upstream gate 22, lost a bit of time, and that advantage at gate 16 is now a deficit. But into 4th place for Lu Li of the People's Republic of China, but the top 3 remains unchanged. 106.81 for Great Britain's Elizabeth Neve. But there's a battle within a race here, because the first of our Austrian Olympic team contenders on course, it is Vio Oblinger Peters of Austria, And it's a straight race today here at the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup. Whoever finishes top out of Vio and Karina Kunle will get the Austrian Olympic place. Now, fierce competition. Kunle is a double world champion. Violetta is an Olympic medalist and a European champion. So a big contest here. And Violetta has set a good pace on the top section. 0.70 to the good as she goes into gate 12. Well, very precise into 12. Now coming through 13, 14 and 15. And certainly paddling very strongly and has extended that advantage. 1.37 seconds is the advantage as she comes out of gate 16. Violetta won the Olympic test event at Rio de Janeiro back in the end of November last year, and she'll obviously be looking to build on that and get that ticket to Rio to go to the games. But it's all about performance today, and rejected. A good run is suddenly in trouble here. She's gone back for it. She'll get a penalty on gate 20. And Violetta Obling-Apita's now on damage limitation.
Yeah, she's put herself on the back foot there. She really...
So she had over a second advantage on our current race leader. That's all gone on gate 20. And into 11th place. And you can just see in her face what that means to her. She won't make it through to the final, but equally, she's now dependent on her compatriot Karina Kunle as to her Olympic place. Well, next up, one of the big names who's been on the podium at almost every race in the last couple of seasons. From Germany, it's Ricarda Funk. She was a silver medalist at the World Championships and the European Championships last year. And the World Cup series was very strong for her. From memory, though, it was the World Cup final where there's double points up for grabs, where she just didn't quite deliver that consistency that we'd seen, and finished 8th overall in last year's World Cup.
She's put together a great top section there. She just, you can see her boat is just always on top of the water, and she's always pushing it forward. Like, it's just, I think it's really, really great to watch, and I think if she can finish this run off, then she'll definitely be in there in the final. You can see it again, almost, well, 3.5 seconds up on the split.
Surely we're looking at our new race leader here. Ricarda Funk of Germany put the disappointment behind her of not making the German Olympic team. That honour goes to Melanie Pfeiffer. And Ricarda Funk looking so smooth on this bottom section, and just having to get things back in check as she runs into gate 22. And she has picked up a penalty, but surely the pace that she's showing is going to take our new race lead. Just has to wait off gate 24, but Ricarda Funk, look at that time. She is going to be our new race leader by 3.63 seconds, 103.18. And Ricarda Funk of Germany is our new race leader, ahead of Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain and Jessica Fox of Australia. That is the top three. And I should say, we've only got 10 boats to go now in the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup 1 Women's Kayak Semi-Final. So we'll start to confirm now who is going to make it through into this afternoon's final. That will be live here at Planet Canoe at 1 o'clock Central European time. So make sure you follow it. And you can also engage with us, hashtag ICF Slalom, through social media. And all the live results, everything, through the website canoeicf.com. So next up, it's Caro Bozidi of France coming through, and she's dropped 3.8 seconds on the top section. A little bit of that is a reflection of how quick Ricarda Funk of Germany, our current race leader, was, but she can't afford to let that margin grow anymore.
Just having a little bit of trouble around gate 12 there, just getting held a little bit, but she's got her boat back, pointing back downstream through gate 13, and she's getting on the pole on 14, so see if she's got enough speed to get into the back of the eddy here.
Well, 5 seconds down now at the gate 16 split. So she really can't afford to slip away anymore. Her best result in the 2015 World Cup Series was 8th place. So she did make it through into the final, but I suspect she's not going to do that today. She's left herself a big job to do on this bottom section. The only good thing is that she is still clean as she goes into gate 22.
Just getting stuck a little bit around gate 22 as well. Just having to lean off the gates too much. I think she's just not keeping the run on her boat as she'd like to.
She's going to be on the wrong side of that big group of athletes in around the 108, 109 section, and into 10th place for Canoe of France, and won't progress through, I'm sure, into this afternoon's final. But Germany leading. It's Ricarda Funk leading the race, and now Jasmine Schornberg on course, but another athlete taking an early penalty on gate 3. Jasmine, one of our 6 world champions, racing in this ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup semi-final. And we'll be able to see whether she can absorb that, but no, 4.89 seconds. Schornberg of Germany needing to find something now as she gets into the narrow, powerful section of this 24-gate course.
I think she'll have absorbed a little bit of that penalty there around gate 10. She seemed to keep her boat flowing pretty nicely, and again through 13, and it looks like she'll be able to keep it running down through 14, 15, and then push into the back of the upstream here.
Yeah, she looks very composed through that section. Using the power, gets out nice and tight from 16, skirts around the stopper, and now sets up the all-important line into 18. The gate 18 looks like it should be easy just to sneak in, sweep upstream, but that eddy line pretty harsh.
Yeah.
So Jasmine Schornberg has made up a little bit of that deficit, but still over 4 seconds over our current race leader. So still capable of getting into the top 3 at the moment, but we do still have the top qualifiers from the heats to come in this women's kayak semi-final, and a little bit sluggish on the bottom section. Into 6th place for Jasmine Schornberg of Germany. Just the 1 penalty, but what it does mean at the moment is that Ricarda Funk of Germany is through to this afternoon's final, and alongside her will be Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain. There are 2 confirmed finalists at the moment. But next up, another legend of the sport, another one of the 6 world champions racing in this event, Stepanka Hilgertova of the Czech Republic. So this is her 28th season of racing at the top level, and when I say at the top level, she's still at the top level. She won her first senior medal in 1989, that was before you were even born, Bradley, and she was still a World Championship finalist last year at the World Championship. She finished 8th place. So Stepanka Hilgertova, nothing to prove. In fact, I asked her the other day, what motivates her to get out of bed and go training? And she just said she just loves the fun of racing and the atmosphere of Canoe Slalom. So a penalty on the downstream gate 10 may well hamper her progress, but Stepanka Hilgertova of the Czech Republic, very experienced athlete, and very nice in and out of 16. Keeping the boat very dry on the run into 17 and 18, but a stroke low on 18.
Yeah, just dropping that inside edge a little bit too much, and the flow's just got on that, pushing her down a little bit further than she'd like, but now she just needs to get over here a bit more.
Well, all of a sudden, a penalty and a few little line errors, and that deficit over 7 seconds. Stepanka Hilgertova of the Czech Republic is looking like she's not going to progress through to this afternoon's final. And now the final sprint to the finish. She's outside of the final time. Only 15th for Stepanka Hilgertova of the Czech Republic. And another casualty. But what that does mean is that Lu Li of the People's Republic of China is our next qualifier. Well, from one world champion to another, It is Jana Dukatova of Slovakia on course, and Jana will represent Slovakia at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. She was 6th last year at the World Championships and has already started off her season pretty well. She had a bronze medal at the European Championships in Liptovsky Mikulas just around a month ago, but 1.72 down on our current race leader Ricarda Funk of Germany. But actually, looking at the results so far, if she can keep that advantage, that deficit stable, then she would qualify through into the final.
Pretty unique about Jana Dukatova. Her technique, like, she really is so efficient with her strokes. I think she must do only half the strokes that any other athletes do down the course.
Yeah, she almost, when she's really in her flow, she almost looks like she's not trying.
Yeah.
But that's the precision and the stroke timing that a lot of people really would envy.
Yeah, you see there around 20, just her boat was so flat and she was able to keep the speed on it and get away so nicely from the gate.
Well, she's still very much in contention for place in the final. 2 seconds down on the race leader, but at the moment that will be good enough to get into the final. And Jana Dukatova of Slovakia paddling for a place in the final. And look, she found some time at the bottom into second place, just 0.31 down and into this afternoon's ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup final. So Ricarda Funk still leading now. Jana Dukatova in second for Slovakia. In third. And we are down to 6 boats to go. They were the fastest 6 boats in the heats. And next is the first of our Italian paddlers, Stephanie Horn of Italy on course. She was 8th at this year's Europeans, and she has the Olympic boat spot for the Rio 2016 Olympic Games to represent Italy. But another athlete who has picked up a penalty on the upstream gate 3.
Yeah, she just looked like she was a little bit too eager to get out of the gate there, maybe feeling a little bit pressure to get into the final after the Kayak men doing so well yesterday. So let's see if she can control that deficit on her way down the course. Very close in 14 there, but I think she did get that clean into the back on 16 and now pulling away pretty tight. That was actually really nice, and now she just needs to get some of that left to right speed off the stopper. It looks like she's having a little bit of trouble there.
Well, she had absorbed that 2-second penalty, and she's certainly looking like she's still in touch with a place in the final. No room now for any more penalties. But Stephanie Horn of Italy now coming through into the final 3 gates on the course. And if she can keep it tidy, then she will be through into this afternoon's final. And that will be a very popular situation in front of this very vocal Ivrea crowd. So she's now sprinting to the finish. The time has slipped away at the bottom, but into 6th place. So she puts herself in with a chance, but what that does mean is that Jessica Fox from Australia is confirmed in this afternoon's final. Jessica Fox, remember, picked up 6 seconds in penalties, so she'll be very relieved that she starts from 0 in the final. Well, Karina Kundler, a double world champion for Austria, now on course, and this run not only looking for a place in this afternoon's Canoe Slalom World Cup final, but also a place in the Rio 2016 Olympics. And that time 1:12.12. So there's a battle within and that has now just extended to around about 3 seconds. No drama for her Olympic place, but she's got to keep her cool. She's got to stay composed. Well, through 13 and 14, very strong athlete, Karina Kundler, double world champion. Probably went into the London Olympic Games in 2012 as one of the favourites. It didn't happen for her. She didn't get on the podium. So she's definitely wanting to be in the 2016 games and make amends for that. But another penalty on the upstream gate 18.
Yeah, this is a massive run for Connie here. Oh, I can feel the pressure from here. It's crazy.
Well, she's looks like she's dealing with it. I think if she can just keep it cool on these final two gates, then Karina Kühnle will be going to Rio de Janeiro for the 2016 Olympic Games. As she comes up, it's going to be close, but 107.73 total into 6th place. And that looks like two factors. One is she's in the final, but I think the one that's most important to her is that she is going to the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. Karina Kühnle will be a name to watch in August. Well, we have now 4 boats to go in this semi-final of the Canoe Slalom ICF World Cup 1. And on course, Ivrea ITA of Spain. Of course, Spain hosting the second of the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup. That's next weekend at Laseo de Gel in the Pyrenees. And you can join us, you can follow all the action at Planet Canoe and through canoeicf.com. So we'll be live from Laseo next weekend. Ivrea ITA, well, that was precise, maybe a little bit too tight on the approach, but a clean run coming together here. Mylan Charot not racing here as a result of, again, preparing for Rio. But it looks like too tight on, well, there's just a bit of juggling going on the penalties there. Looks like a 50-second penalty awarded on gate 13. Certainly, Ivrea paddling very tight on the poles and picking up those penalties. Another one on gate 18. So what that does mean is that puts Stephanie Horn of for a place in this afternoon's finals. That will go down well with the swelling crowd here in the sunshine now at Ivrea. And Ivrea ITA, it's not going to happen today for the Spaniard. And just paddling it out into 27th place. But that does confirm Stephanie Horn of Italy. The Italians have a boat in the final. But it's still Ricarda Funk of Germany leading ahead of Jana Dukatova of Slovakia, Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain. And 2 boats to go. Sorry, 3 boats to go. Marta Martinez of Spain now on course. And Bradley Forbes-Cryans alongside myself, Andy Maddock, here in the commentary box. And Marta Martinez was one of the names that you fancied to do well today.
Yeah, I think you saw her around gate 3 there. Oh, she's lost a bit of time in gate 9, but yeah, around gate 3 she was super duper tight, and yeah, I think she'll be looking to get herself into the final this afternoon.
Well, she's keeping it clean so far.
There we
Very
go.
precise. Oh. I thought she'd pinned that, but she's late now on 14.
She picked up two penalties there, one on 12 and one on 13, and she's losing time in the stopper. Oh, it's not going well for her.
Suddenly, she goes from really challenging for the race lead to really fighting for a place just to get in the final. How can she refocus, put the mistake behind her, and get on down to the bottom section? Well, 11.74 seconds the deficit. So I don't think she can make up enough on this bottom section to get into the final.
She's going to have to really charge now, just give it all she's got.
But what that would mean is that Estelle Mongan of France now is in the frame to be the first French representative in the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup final here in the women's kayak category. Marta Martinez paddling into 15th place, and the promise of the top half didn't materialise on the bottom half, and disappointment there. Ricarda Funk still leading this semi-final. 2 boats to go, and next up Pauline Guillet of France on the course, And already a penalty showing on the downstream gate 1. So the shoot down off the start, a bit of a feature of this Ivrea course, and really an opportunity to find your flow, get the speed. How important is it in the first 3 or 4 gates to really find the pace, find the rhythm, Bradley?
Yeah, I think that's key, definitely key to any full run. You know, just try and make your way and set the pace through the first 3 gates. And I think the only time I did gate 1 well was in my final run. I feel every other time I was just squeezing to get into it, and I just wasn't having a good time up there, but I just had to refocus the best I could. So Estelle's going to have to just do it, not Estelle, Pauline's just going to have to do what she can here to refocus, but it looks like she's settled in okay.
Well, we already have one French boat in the final. Will Pauline Guillet be joining her? She needs to up the ante a little bit on this bottom section. If she can stabilise that at around 4 seconds from our current race leader, she will get a place in the final this afternoon. But is that another penalty on gate 19? Yes, it is. It's confirmed now. So Pauline Guillet of France showing plus 4 seconds in penalties. And it's basically a battle now between the world champion from 2009 of Germany, Jasmin Schornberg, and the paddler in shot now for the next place in the final. And only 30 for Pauline Guillet of France. So still Ricarda Funk leading. And at the moment it's Funk from Germany who will be in the final, ahead to Kotova of Slovakia, Neve of Great Britain, Lee of the People's Republic of China, Fox of Australia, Karina Kundler of Austria, Stephanie Horn of Italy, Mongain of France, and now Schornberg of Germany. 1 to go, and Great Britain's Mallory Franklin currently sitting in 10th place. So it is Ana Satila of Brazil, the fastest boat in the heats on Friday, essentially ahead of Mallory Franklin's of Great Britain for that final place in this afternoon's final. Well, Ana Satila had a great first run performance in the heats. She's chosen not to race in the C1 women's event. I think she's focusing on the kayak, but a different line there into gate 12.
Strange there to use that left curl, but you know, I don't think she's lost too much time there, and she's got around 13, 14, 15, that combination there pretty well.
Well, nicely into 16. It looks like 3.49 seconds. Yes, she's not going to challenge the race lead, but that's not important in the semi-finals. What's important is making it through into that top 10 and staying in the race for the 60 points up for grabs in this afternoon's final. Race 1 of the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup. And a penalty there on gate 21. Ana Satila of Brazil, very much the sort of the growing pressure on her and the expectation informed that Brazilian home crowd at the Olympic Games. But into 7th place, and importantly for Ana, she is through to this afternoon's final, and you can see the joy on her face as she crosses the finish line. Not the tidiest of runs, but that doesn't matter. There she is. She knows she's made it through. So, provisional results of this, the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup Women's Kayak Semi-Finals. Ricarda Funk of Germany sets the pace, and she will go off last in this afternoon's final. You can watch the final live here at Planet Canoe, and that gets underway at 1 o'clock Central European time. In second place was Jana Dukatova of Slovakia. In third, Elizabeth Neve of Great Britain. Fourth, Lu Li of the People's Republic of China. Jessica Fox of Australia in fifth, and that was with 6 seconds in penalties. And Karina Kundler of Austria confirming her Olympic spot, and she'll be able to race without fear this afternoon because she's already got one job done for Austria. Ana Satila, who we've just seen for Brazil. And then Stephanie Horn of Italy gives the France, and our final qualifier, Jasmine Schornberg of Germany. Valerie Franklin of Great Britain just missing out. And looking at some of the big names, then Elena Kalishka, Stepanka Hilgatova, Violetta Oblinger-Peters, all missing out on a place in the final. So alongside myself, Andy Muddock, I've got Bradley Forbes-Cryans, finalist in the men's kayak race here yesterday. Your reflections on the women's kayak race, and who are the ones to watch in this afternoon's final?
I think the two really standing out there were Jessica Fox and Ricarda Funk. I think they looked way more composed, and they just I think they'll be fighting each other for the top spot this afternoon, definitely.
Well, and I have to say, I have to acknowledge it, your prediction on time, pretty good there. You said just over 100 seconds, and both Jessica Fox and Ricarda Funk putting in a time of 1:01. So, yeah, they're going to have to go faster to get my prediction of under 100 seconds. Well, maybe they're saving that for the final. So, don't go away, because up next will be the C2 men's semi-final. And again, they will be in action later on today with the C2 men's finals. They follow on the women's kayak finals, but certainly here at the first ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup of the 2016 season, then lots of action there, and exciting racing. We go on from here in Italy to La Seu d'Urgell in northern Spain. The race next weekend. Then on to Pau in the other side of the Pyrenees in a fortnight's time. Then we take a bit of a break, and we return with race 4 of the World Cup Series at the back end of August in Prague in the Czech Republic. And finally, we go to Slovenia on the outskirts of Ljubljana to Tarzan for the final race in the series. And of course, that final race has double points, so super tight racing we anticipate throughout the Canoe Slalom season. We also have the Under-23 World Championships and the Junior World Championships in Krakow in Poland. Bradley, does that feature in your plans for the season? So, you know, there's a whole World Cup series and Under-23.
The start of the season, the Senior Europeans, which took place in Liptovsky, I didn't have a great result there. I was pretty disappointed with that. But now definitely I turn my attention towards the Under-23 World Championships and Europeans. I'm really looking forward to getting out there. We've got a 4-day training camp 2 weeks before, and then we come home for a little while, and then we head back out for the race. But yeah, I'm just looking to get in as many races as I can. I think the only way to get better at racing is by racing. So,
well, it'll be an exciting season. 5 World Cups, and of course, yes, those Under-23 and Junior World Championships. They're in the middle of July. They're in Krakow in Poland, and certainly will be the sort of last big race on the slalom scene before the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. So you've seen the start list. We're going to get underway with the semi-finals of the C2 men, and led away by our Brazilian crew. It is the Brazilian crew that will represent Brazil at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. It is Charles Correa and Anderson Oliveira. They were 25th at the World Championships in Lee Valley in London last year, and 32nd overall in the World Cup Series last year. That probably is more of a reflection that they didn't compete in all of the races. But certainly they have the opportunity to set the pace. Now, we would normally expect the women's times and the C2 times to be fairly similar in terms of the top race times. Any predictions on what's going to win this semi-final, Bradley?
But these guys, they look to be having get skiffing on top of
sneaking nicely inside the downstream gate 17, getting the line very nicely for 18. And it looks like this crew from Brazil setting a good standard as we start off. We've got 17 boats in this semi-final and only 10 places in this afternoon's final. Well, the penalty now showing on the downstream gate 20. But Charles Canoe and Anderson Oliveira of Brazil coming through now to set the standard that everyone else has to chase. Obviously into first place, they're the first ones down, but a respectable time, 113.23 total. And so from Brazil boat 1 to Brazil boat 2, we have Wellington Munho and Cassiano Vieira coming into the upstream gate 3. So already a penalty showing on the upstream gate 3. And C2 will be making its final appearance in the Olympic program in Rio 2016. Proposed to bring in the C1 women's category into the Tokyo Olympic program to bring men's event of K1 and C1 and then women's event of K1 and C1. That is the proposed program for the Tokyo Games. So C2 very much, a lot of the athletes focused on preparing for that Rio Games and showing the showcase of C2 in the Olympics Forum. So a 50-second penalty showing on gate 8. Well, gate 8 is a little bit tricky for the C2s. Talk us through the technique on the gate 8 at the top, the down in the eddy before the upstream.
Well, I didn't actually think they 50'd that there. But yeah, I think for any boat paddling it, they're looking to get a little bit of left to right on gate 7, which is on the lead into gate 8. So then they can open up the line with a little bit of right to left and just push onto the cushion and just try and hold their boat as flat as possible so it doesn't get pushed down by the stopper before the upstream.
So yeah, for the C2s, boats are just that little bit longer and the timing probably just that little bit more important to get it round. So as you sprint to the finish, you're almost sprinting at a brick wall, aren't you? It looks slightly off-putting. So let's turn our attention to the next crew on course from the Czech Republic, Wojciech Mruczek and Albert Kaspar. Again, another crew picked up a penalty on the first of our 6 upstream gates on gate 3. So it is still Charles Correa, Anderson Oliveira of Brazil, our current race leaders. 17 boats in this ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup C2 semi-final. Just 10 spots in the final. We've still got some big names to come, including the Hochschorner brothers from Slovakia, 4-time Olympic medalists, 5-time world champions. Probably not at their best at the moment. They won't be going to the Rio Games. The cousin Skantar from Slovakia will be the Slovak representatives in the C2. But I'm sure we'll see some quality paddling from these athletes. But the Czech crew here picking up 6 seconds of penalties and making life hard for themselves if they want to progress through into the 10-boat final.
I think Andy have actually made a terrible prediction on times here. The course is just, it's so twisty, and I think the C2s are actually going to be quite a bit slower, but I know that's easy to say now when the first time's gone in.
Well, that's the we got a breakage of paddle there. It's hard to say that, but the front man, he must have caught the blade on the bottom of the river and the paddle shaft has snapped, and that's really unfortunate. The young Czech crew unable to complete their run and drift over the finish line. So it is still Charles Correa and Anderson Oliveira of Brazil who lead in the early stages of this race. Well, here's a boat that's probably And another crew picking up a penalty. They've already pretty much absorbed that early penalty. Just 0.11 down as they come into the technical section here on this Ivrea whitewater course. Well, it's very difficult to get the precise line through that section. Bows bouncing up and taking a penalty on gate 12. But Muller setting a very good pace. Looks like they found the rhythm, and although 4 seconds of penalty showing, they are still in touch with our current race leaders from Brazil. And they really look like they're building into this run. It's pacing is very important in canoe slalom, and just being clear as to how you intend to use up your energy reserves, and it looks like they've timed this very well indeed. They look like they're building into a rhythm. They've got the feel. Now 2 gates to go, but 6 seconds in penalties, and that's a big ask to make it through to the final.
Yeah, you think even though it's only 7 athletes that are going to go out from the semi-final, the C2 class is there's just so much quality in the top end. Like there are only 17 boats, but they are 17 world-class boats. So that's what makes it so exciting to watch.
Well, the first of our French crews is on course. It's Ivrea ITA and Loïc Cavella, and young crew. They've started to make their mark at junior and under 23 level over the last couple of years, and taking this opportunity to race at senior level. The French have very strong senior C2 team.
Also got their first World Cup medal in Po in front of a home crowd last year.
Yeah.
I think they finished second in Po. Yeah.
And due to the strength of the French C2 team, then taking the opportunity to get a World Cup start line here, and they'll want to be capitalising on that and challenging for the podium this afternoon. Well, so far so good as they come into the upstream gate 16. They have an advantage, a 1.5 second advantage, so still need to keep that run going, but maybe that's telling us that the run from the current race leaders Charles Correa and Anderson Oliveira of Brazil was actually a very credible run. So importantly, still clean for the crew. Ivrea Cavella of France.
Just picking up a touch there on 21.
Now in that bottom section, nicely done on the back of the stopper from 22 to 23. Looks like they found the sweet line and sprinting to the finish. They're going to be inside the time, into first place for Ivrea ITA and Loïc Cavella of France. And surely we will see them in action again this afternoon. That final follows the women's kayak final, and the women's kayak final gets underway and is live here at Planet Canoe at 1 o'clock Central European time. Next boat is the boat from the People's Republic of China, Hang Zhang and Jiao Deng. So the People's Republic have had some good C2 crews over their time. Hu and Shu, probably the best of the crews that the People's Republic have produced. They've retired now, and a penalty on gate 4 on the downstream gate. Bit of a soft penalty that. They won't want to pick up any more penalties as they go down, but the current time to beat is 1:11.21. That's our current race lead by Ivrea ITA and Loïc Cavella of France. So our crew from the People's Republic of China still in touch, 3.24 seconds down. And yeah, this is quite a testing course for the C2s. The rules exactly the same between the single boats and the double boat. So So precision, the name of the game, but of course in the C2 category it's all about communication and knowing exactly what your partner's going to do without actually having to wait to find out. So in and out to the upstream gate 22, and so far still just that one touch on gate 24 that spoils a clean run, and made up a bit of time on the bottom section. So Hang Zhang and Xiao Deng of the People's Republic of China into third place. Top two remain unchanged. Yves Prigent and Lois Gavella of France leading the way. Charles Correa and Anderson Oliveira of Brazil in second place. And next up, it is Daniel Marzo and Jesus Perez of Spain. They were World Championship finalists in 2014 in Deep Creek in the USA. Finished 8th in that race. And the best they made in the 2015 ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup Series was 9th place last year. So they are finalists from previous times. Can they get a personal best here in the first World Cup season? Get their season off to a good start ahead of going to their home race in La Seo d'Urgell next weekend. Well, they were in touch on the first split. They have now picked up a 2-second penalty, but they certainly look like they've got the pace to challenge our race leaders. So through gate 17 towards gate 18. A little bit sticky on 18. And now, is that another penalty on 19? Surely that will go on. And really now important to refocus, get back in that rhythm. So as we watch the crew from Spain just paddling out the final gates on the course, then they're going to be outside of the time, I think, of the current race leaders, because another penalty picked up on the last gate, and they're going to crash into the wall. Ouch. But importantly, they've stopped the clock. So they are into third place for Daniel Marzo, Jesus Perez of Spain. And we're now 7 boats into this 17-boat semi-final here. So we will start to be able to confirm who will be racing again in this afternoon's final. Well, here's a big name on the course. Andrei Karlovsky, Jakub Jane of the Czech Republic. They were the third place overall in the 5-race World Cup Series in 2015. Fourth at this year's European Championships. Disappointing World Championships for them last year. They only finished in 15th place. But here, showing their form, 0.15 to the good. But have they just cancelled that out? A 2-second penalty on the downstream gate 10. So Bradley Forbes-Grimes alongside me in the commentary box, and be interesting to hear from you, Bradley. This is your second season on the senior circuit. What was the biggest learning in your first season as a senior paddler on the World Cup and World Championship circuit?
I think, well, just the experience from racing each race and the training weeks on the way in. I can remember being really nervous in the training weeks and the lead-in, just because there's just so many big names there, and you feel like they're always watching your session. Like, you're just worried that they're judging you, or like thinking, oh, why is this guy here? He's not very good at canoeing. So yeah, I think just settling into a new environment was really, it was a big learning curve for me. But now that I feel a bit more at ease with the surroundings of being on the World Cup circuit, it's pretty cool being able to race along with your friends week in, week out, and just enjoying it. And
well, it becomes a bit of a community, a very social side of it, and good to see you settling into that. Well, it's Karlovsky Jane of the Czech Republic into third place, but what it does mean is Prigent Cavella of France confirms our first finalists as we come into the Cup 1. We're in Ivrea in northern Italy, just an hour north of Turin, in the foothills of the Alps. The sun is shining, the crowd are here. They've already got a finalist in the women's kayak event in Stephanie Horn, and we will have the Italians up soon. But at the moment, on course, it is Thomas Kuchera and Jan Batic of Slovakia. And now the penalty on gate 5, another one on gate 12. But they certainly had already absorbed the penalty at the top of the course. And 3.15 seconds the deficit. Well, they're the European champions from this season. So we would hope that they can make it through into this afternoon's final. They've certainly got the calibre to do that. But just a little bit sneaking into 19. And the penalties mounting up there, Bradley.
Yeah, picking up another touch on 19. I think that's, yeah, the last few boats to go will be really, really world class. And I think all these penalties are really going to add up for them, and they're having a little bit of troubles in the last upstream as well.
Well, they need to maintain their focus through these final 2 gates on the course. They're paddling out. They're going to be outside of that time. It's damage limitation now, 120.23, only 7th. And are we looking at the European champions not qualifying for the first World Cup of the season? Well, they're certainly going to have a stressful next few minutes to find out if they've done enough. But the people that have done enough is now Charles Correa and Anderson Oliveira of Brazil. They are into this afternoon's final. Race leaders still, Yves Brigeon, Lois Cavella of France, leading 1:11.21 the time. And on course, a second crew from the People's Republic of China, Hongmin Yu and Yin Chen, 17th at the World Championships last year. Another crew that have picked up a penalty on the upstream gate 3. So whilst we watch the People's Republic of China crew come through the middle section, Bradley, just you talked about the training and the preparation for these races. How do you keep yourself fresh over the course of a World Cup series? You've got 3 races on the trot here in Italy, then Spain, then France. How do you make sure that by the time you get to France for race 3 that you're still sharp, you're still fresh?
Well, we do all the physical training gets done when we're at home, when we've got time, you know, when we don't really have to be sharp at that certain point of the year. But with my coach Mark Demenjo, you know, we set the plan, and generally when we come away to race camps, we look to race. We look to, you know, not do too much, but just try and learn the course as best we can. We try and make sure we take, you know, we try and finish every session the best we can and make the most of every session. But at the same time, we are generally only doing that one whitewater session per day.
Yeah, very true actually. Just one session a day in the lead up to the World Cup, and normally training twice a day. So Yu and Chen of the People's Republic of China had a bad bottom section there and sitting in 7th place. So that means Karlovsky and Jane of the Czech Republic are into this afternoon's final. 3 boats confirmed now. And on course, you can hear the Italian crowd starting to get excited, because it's Pietro Camporesi and Niccolo Ferrari on course. And the Italians, the sole representatives in this semi-final, so the crowd's expectation rests on their shoulders, and it looks like they are rising to the occasion in front of their home crowd. Very good through 13, 14 and 15. They were in touch on the first split, and surely they're going to go ahead. They are ahead, and the crowd starting to make a big noise here. They certainly enjoyed the gold and silver medal yesterday from the men's kayak event, and they'll be hoping to get more medals today. Well, a penalty on 18, so Camporesi and Ferrari just needing to settle it down. keep it clean. And another penalty there on 19 and low into 22. All of a sudden, they need to just settle it down. So they were up at gate 16 on our race leaders from France. But now it's about getting into the final. They're outside of the race lead time and only into 8th place for Camporese and Ferrari. And all of a sudden the Italian crowd go a little bit quiet there, Bradley.
Yeah, they just had a few issues there on the bottom part of the course, and it just shows you can be in control of the run, and then next second it's completely out of your control, and you're just trying to finish the run off the best you can.
Fires they're in, and on course the Hochschorner brothers of Slovakia. Well, they've won 4 Olympic medals, 3 titles. They've won a gold 3 times. They've won 5 ICF Canoe Slalom World Championship titles. They've pretty much won everything there is to win. They're not the dominant force that they once were, but let's watch them here, because let's see just their skill. They're clean so far. They often don't look the fastest on the course, but they can be deceptively fast.
Yeah, you can just see how composed they are, but I can imagine they're just putting so much power on the blades. And
lead 0.17 seconds, but we know the bottom section of this course has been creating a few casualties. 19, well, a penalty being picked up. So that just highlights the difficulty of this bottom section, but nice into 22. That was where the Italian crew, Camporese and Ferrari, really lost a lot of time. And the Hochschorner brothers sprinting to the finish. Is that another penalty to go on 24? Yes, it is, but into first place for the Olympic, well, 3-time Olympic champions. And we will see Pavel and Peter Hochschorner of Slovakia in this afternoon's final. So we're now into the final 5 athletes in this, the C2 men's semi-final, live from Ivrea in northern Italy. And next on course, it is David Schroeder and Nico Bettger of Germany. They were bronze medalists at the European Championships. Nico Bettger was in action in yesterday's semi-final of the C1's event. He didn't get through into the final, and probably has focused a little bit more. He was a World Cup champion in C1, but in recent years probably more focused on this, the C2 event. Nicely into the upstream gate 12, and yes, they've picked up a 2-second penalty on gate 3, but they've pretty much absorbed it now on the splits. How will they do compared to the Hochschorner brothers from Slovakia, our current race leaders? 2.48 seconds adrift, but if they can hold that and not let that deficit get any bigger, then we will see them in this afternoon's final. So through 19 seems to have caused quite a lot of trouble for the crews. That spin gate just really particularly hard to get away on the exit, get across to gate 20.
Yeah, trying to fit 2 people through gate 19 does not look like an easy task, but these boys seem to have done it pretty well there. Under 24, they're now sprinting to the finish, and I think we will see them in the final this afternoon.
We will indeed. Into 3rd place, and it's tight at the top there, but into 3rd place and into the final. So the 6 qualifiers is the Hochschorners from Slovakia, Prigent Cavella of France, and then Schroeder Bettger of Germany, Correa Oliveira of Brazil, Karlovsky Jane of the Czech Republic, and Marzo Perez of Spain. Those are our 6 qualifiers so far. 4 boats still to go in this semi-final. And next up is the French crew of Pierre Picot and Hugo Bissot. And this crew, very strong. When they get it right, then they are very hard to beat. silver medalists at the 2014 and the 20. And their best result in last year's World Cup Series was 4th. So they'll be looking to improve on that. Going to get on the podium here today. Well, I think if I was to tip a crew that would deliver on the podium, it is this crew here. Look at that, 3.42 seconds up on that split. But we know it's this bottom section that is the sting in the tail of this Ivrea course. Well, gate 18, what precision there for the French crew. Is there a rock in there, just between 18 and 19?
Just see the front man clipping his paddle on the rock there. I think I never had to use my downstream blade there, but it does look like there is a rock under the water there.
Well, one to watch out for. Maybe that's what caused the breakage of the paddle from one of the crews earlier on in this semi-final. But Picot Bissot of France are going to deliver the first clean run in this semi-final, and not only deliver, but they have delivered a first place performance. That's the job done. They can go away and prepare for this afternoon's final. We have new race leaders, 107.22, a clean run with 3 boats to go. Next up, Nicolas Chianimaco and Hugo Caillol of France, another of their strong French C2 crews, but already a 2-second penalty picked up on the downstream gate 1. So now effectively it is the People's Republic of China currently sitting in 8th place and waiting to see if they've done enough to make it through into the final, versus the crew on course from France. So the time to beat for a place in the final now, 114.48. So quite a spread at the moment between first place 107 and 114. And currently the crew coming into the upstream gate 16, and it looking a solid run coming together. 4.45 seconds down. But if they can stabilise that, then they will join their compatriots, Picot Bissot, the current race leaders, in this afternoon's final.
Potentially another touch there on 17 going on. So they're going to have to paddle this bottom section really well. They've got through 19 now, just trying to set up through 20.
You're right there, Bradley. They can't afford any more touches. 4 seconds in penalties. And unless they made up some time on the clock, then that will give them around about a 6-second deficit. And it really is. Remember, 114.48. That's the time they've got to beat to go into the final.
They've just had a really, really nice run through that last stopper there. So I think that's just put them in.
Oh, and they sneak inside there, but they had to sweat it out a little bit. Not happy with that performance, but they are into the final. And Zhang Deng of the People's Republic of China have to wait again to see. So essentially it is them against Robert Behling and Thomas Becker of Germany, who are next on course. A very strong crew who are finalists at last year's World Championships and 6th overall in the ICF World Cup Series last year. Their best performance was a silver medal in race 2, and very much in touch at the early split, just over half a second down. And this is where it counts. This is where precision is the name of the game. Got to get the bows round, pointing at 14 as you go through 13. They've done that very nicely indeed. They stayed ahead of the game through that sequence and into 16. But they have lost some time. 3.1 second down and a 2-second penalty on top of that. So no room for any more errors really on this run.
Really nicely around gate 18 there now, just trying to bring the boat back down through 19 and get away, but it's just so tricky trying to get around that inside pole.
Yeah, very sticky. And 114.48, that's the time to remember. That's the time they've got to beat to get inside, and they picked up another penalty.
Another 2 penalties, 20 and 21. So I think they will be outside and not in the final this afternoon.
Well, it's going to be down to the sprint to the finish. 114.48 is what they have to beat, and they're outside of that. So a big shock here. Robert Bailing and Thomas Becker, who are regular finalists, ICF World Ranking inside the top 10, but they are outside of the final. But that's good news for the People's Republic of China. And Zhang Deng will be in this afternoon's final. One boat to go. This crew, the fastest crew from the heats, it's Pierre-Antoine Thiard and Aidan Leroyer, both established C1 paddlers, but also, as we can see from their performance in the heats, an accomplished C2 crew when they put their performance together.
Just taking a touch there on gate 7. I think it will come off in a second.
Well, it has indeed, you're right there. So nearly 3 seconds down on the top section. That's okay, but as we've already seen, you can't afford to make any more mistakes if you're going to be into the final. So basically they need to be 114.49. That's what they've got to beat. It's the Müller of Germany sitting in 10th place. So it is France against Germany for the final spot in the this is going to be an exciting finish, I think, because at the moment 7 seconds is the deficit at gate 16. That's pretty sticky on 19. They've certainly not made any time, probably lost a bit.
Yeah, just losing a little bit on this bottom section, just trying to keep the boat running as much as they can, but it looks like they're fighting the water a little bit and not going with the flow.
Yes, and so easy when the pressure comes on, when you've made a few mistakes, you tighten up. Is that another touch?
Another touch.
114.49 is what they've got to beat, and they're outside of that. So Pierre-Antoine Thiard, Aidan Leroyer of France, the fastest qualifiers in the heats, will not be in this afternoon's final. And it looks like Kai and Kevin Müller of Germany get a stay of execution. They get into the final. They will race off first in this afternoon's final. And provisionally, there are still a few inquiries going on around penalties, but provisionally this afternoon, Pico Bisso, the race winners from the semi-finals, they'll go off last in this afternoon's final for France. And then the Hochschorner twins from Slovakia. And then it is Prijon Cavella of France, Schroeder Betker of Germany, Correa Oliveira of Brazil, Karlovsky Jane of the Czech Republic, Marzo Perez of Spain, Xian Manico and Keilol of France, and then Zhang Deng of the People's Republic of China, and last into the final. First off in the C2 men's final will be Kai and Kevin Müller of Germany. 10 boats will race it out in this afternoon's final. 60 points up for grabs for a win in the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup. And of course in race 5 in Tarsen in Slovenia, double points up for grabs. So that concludes the racing this morning in the semi-finals. And we've got some exciting racing to look forward to as we conclude the racing here in Ivrea in northern Italy. We'll be live with the women's kayak and C2 men's finals at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And Bradley, your reflections on that C2 race, certainly going to be a lot of head scratching around the bottom section of the course. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the guys this afternoon will just be looking to sharpen up a little bit more on that, on the bottom part of the course. But I think especially gate 19, I think a lot of the crews will be definitely taking a better look at that for their second course walk and just trying to figure out a better plan to stay off that inside pole.
Well, thanks very much, Bradley, for joining myself in the commentary box this morning. It's been useful, and we'll be back, as I say, this afternoon, 1 o'clock Central European time, live from Ivrea in northern Italy. But here are the provisional results for the C2 men semi-final. The top 10 listed here will race it out this afternoon in the final in reverse order. So Kai and Kevin Muller of Germany will lead off after the women's kayak final, and last off will be Pico Bissot of France as the semi-final winners. But there we see it, Bailing and Becker of Germany not making it through, and unfortunately for the Italian fans, Camporesi Ferrari not making it through. But we will see Stephanie Horn for Italy going in the women's kayak final. You can see the flag on top of the old castle here in Ivrea. It's just flowing gently in the wind. Race conditions perfect for a World Cup final, and the crowds really growing here on the banks of the River Dora Boltea, ready for this afternoon's final. That's in just over an hour and a quarter, so don't go away. Make sure you'll come back at 1 o'clock Central European time for the finals of the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup.